Yo, it's your boy Vegabomber, and welcome to Vegabomber Land. And now you know what we're doing. We're now in the middle of our Luke Cage series, and we're talking about episode 5 and 6 right now. So episode 5 is kind of like boom, 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 boom. Yeah, that's the bass line to a song called Just to Get a Rep by Gangstar, and of course that happens to be the title of this particular episode. So as I said in previous videos, all the titles of these Luke Cage series episodes are all Gangstar songs. So yeah, I don't know why they picked Gangstar specifically, but I don't mind, because Gangstar was one of those hip-hop groups I was listening to in the late 80s, early 90s, and boy, what can I say? If you're going to pick some music, that's some definitely good music. I think it'd be too easy to pick probably Public Enemy or maybe even Cool G Rappin' Polo or something like that, or Big Daddy Kane, because well, that'd be too easy on the nose. But Gangstar didn't see it coming, but it lends itself to it because they definitely were into jazz. But anyway, you probably didn't want to know as much about that as you want to know about this episode, so let's get into it. Episode 5. Yeah, so episode 5 gives us the appearance of Night Nurse. That's right, Rosario Dawson's character, who she again shows up again as that person who likes to come along and help these superpowered people, or these specially enhanced people, when they get beat up in the city trying to fight crime. She has a heart for those who have a heart for people. So she shows up again, and it makes sense, and I like seeing her in this particular series as well. It's almost as if she's going to be the Samuel Jackson, if you will, of this group of heroes or vigilantes from this part of town. It's like she knows everything about Daredevil, she knows a lot about Jessica Jones, and now she's learning stuff about Luke Cage. It seems like it would make sense that she'd be the one that would try to put them all together, because obviously all together what they could do would probably knock out crime faster. So I could see her kind of getting into that mode and then doing that. But once again, it's always good to see Rosario Dawson. I mean, who could ever complain about that? And also, I love, speaking of hip-hop, I love the, once again, another hip-hop reference. And then there's probably more, but I caught this one because it was very blatant right at us. And that was the plug 1, plug 2, so the De La Soul reference. So when Luke Cage walks up on those two dudes who this girl hired him, or told him that, hey, Luke, these guys took my tips. And he's like, okay, show me. And then he walks up, and she's like, don't you need a gun or something? He's like, I am the gun. And he walks up, what's up, plug 1, plug 2? And he tools those two dudes up and helps that young lady get her money back. And it was like, that's awesome. I just love how they keep tying in the hip hop. Last one it was like Wu-Tang Clan was in there. Now they're showing you this, alongside of having Gangstar as your titles for most of your series. So I thought that was pretty good. Cottonmouth then decides, hey, we're going to create a Luke Cage tag so everybody knows who he is. So everybody knows that for all the bad things that keep happening, it's because of Luke Cage, so that people will blame him and be mad at him. But then Luke Cage flips that, as you would expect that he would. We also get the introduction of a certain kind of bullet that was recovered that's alien technology from the incident. I love again how they're tying this back into the Avengers. And so now there's this Judas Bullet that supposedly with this bullet you level the playing field. And of course Cottonmouth wants it, but he can't afford it because Luke Cage is tearing up his whole operation, and his operation isn't doing so well. He's losing funding, and he's losing money, and he's losing confidence with the people, and Diamondback is going to be imminent. We know he's going to show up here pretty soon because, well, Cottonmouth, is as ruthless as he can be, doesn't seem to know what the right strategy is to neutralize the people. He's trying, like in the previous episode where he tried to shoot that rocket launcher, at Cage, but what do you do? The guy's got bulletproof skin. But I also love Mariah Dillard, Alfred Woodard's character telling him, well, look, poison him, drown him, do something. I mean, if you can't penetrate his skin, at least do that. And that's pretty smart. So I like how she's thinking like that already. But my favorite part of episode 5 is the scene in the church. And once again, I was like, this is exactly how you do it. Again, it's so clever with this series, this episode, showing you how here these two guys who are going to be an inevitable conflict at some point. They're going to get down to throwing fists at each other and hands, of which we already know who's going to be on the weekend of that. And that'll be Cottonmouth all day long. But again, this sparring that they do, this verbal sparring, I should say, that they do in the church, is they're both kind of giving their own little mini eulogy, if you will, for Pops who had died. And of course, Luke Cage's little mini eulogy or testimony, if you will, about Pops was still better. It still brought down the house. And he just smashes, Cottonmouth in every area, if you will. I mean, he can't beat him with thinking. He can't beat him strategy-wise. He can't beat him muscle-wise. He doesn't have enough army to stop Luke Cage. And then in a battle of public opinion and in a church at the death of Pops, he loses that battle too to Luke Cage. And so, again, so glad to see that, because, I mean, it's just so smart how they're doing this and just not having them walk in there and just punch him out. I'm sure people are going, well, why did he just punch him out? Well, then the series would be over already. And we're just at episode 5, so it doesn't need to happen that way. And I'll say this about episode 5. Episode 5 is my favorite episode so far. I mean, you say, oh, how could you do that? It's kind of hard, isn't it? Yeah, it's kind of hard to pick, but I mean, that funeral scene, that eulogy scene at the church, I mean, again, violence without even throwing a punch. What he said was just verbally mocking him in front of all those people. He just keeps shutting down Cottonmouth. It almost makes you feel sorry for him, but not really. But again, you're just like, go ahead, Luke, do that. Keep doing that, because you're about to shut down this daily operation pretty fast. So those are my thoughts on episode 5 so far. By far my favorite episode out of all of them, but I know there's a few more to go. So let's talk about episode 6. So episode 6 is titled Suckers Need Bodyguards. And well, we know right now in this particular episode, somebody's going to get hurt, thus the title. And of course, this does happen. We see that the double agent himself, or the dirty crooked cop, Misty Knight's partner, Scaff, is actually shot. Cottonmouth goes ahead and takes him to task, shoots him up, just puts bullets all in him and in his car and everything else. So we know what it's like if you shoot a cop with, that's a terrible thing to do. And of course now, again, it seems like if Cottonmouth couldn't get any dumber, he does something else that's going to implicate him and just keep the pressure on him. So in a way, you understand, because he's frustrated. I mean, Cottonmouth is getting beat at every corner. I mean, every time he turns around, somebody's beating him on some level. And Shades is constantly sitting there antagonizing him, letting him know, hey, you're about to get taken out. Diamondback doesn't even trust you. I mean, you can't even get your money back. I mean, he tries to tell him, maybe you need to sell the club instead of just trying to hold on to this piece of real estate that you think, just get your money, cash out, and get up out of here. But, you also understand, Cottonmouth saying, hey, this isn't Harlem, though. This is where I'm from. I'm not leaving my ground. I'm not leaving. But the problem is Luke Cage is going to show him what Harlem should be like and how people should be treated in Harlem, because Pops is the central figure here. It's kind of like Pops is kind of like Odin, and Luke Cage is kind of like Thor, and Cottonmouth is kind of like Loki at this point, it seems like. So it's kind of interesting how they're playing this up. And then, of course, it's interesting to see the dynamic between Misty Knight and Scaff. I mean, she tells us in this episode that the reason why she's able to be a cop and has gotten as far as she has is because Scaff believed in her. He just believed in her, and that was enough for her to hang in there when it got tough in the middle of the training, because I'm sure it's got to be hard trying to be a detective, especially in that borough of New York. So we see this undying devotion she has for somebody who she doesn't know yet is a double agent, if you will. He's a Black Widow type, and he's part of the crime. So not bad. Episode 6 is getting me there. So now I'm going to go ahead and stop flapping my gums again so I can go ahead and watch 7 and 8. But hang in there. We're halfway done. We got a little bit more to go. I'm sure this is getting better, but so far 5 is my best episode, and I'm sure there's more to come. Yup! Oh, wait a minute. Why am I doing yup? You don't even know what that's about. I'm Vegabomber, and now I'm out. Yup! Crack! Home run every time. Every time I do that, I get a home run. Huh?